What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're breaking down the playoff matchup between the Chicago Bears and the Los Angeles Rams. This is going to be a fascinating game, and after diving deep into the analytics, I've got some really interesting insights to share with you. So let's jump right in. We're into the divisional round, so I updated my Python script to ingest the fresh data from wildcard weekend. Most models just look at season averages, but using the NFL Data PY library, I've applied recency weights that prioritize the performances from weeks 15 through the wildcard round. This tells us who's getting hot at the right time, not who was good in September. I also kept strict filters in place. No kneels, no spikes, and I stripped out garbage time plays where the win probability was outside of 5 to 95%. We're only looking at efficiency when the game is actually on the line. So here's what the updated model says about the Bears and the Rams. First things first, if you're tuning into this game expecting a defensive slugfest, you might want to adjust your expectations. The data is telling us that this is shaping up to be a high-scoring affair. Both teams have the offensive weapons to put points on the board, and the matchup dynamics heavily favor the offenses over the defenses. Let's start with the weighted passing efficiency chart, because this really sets the stage for everything else. When you look at where the teams sit, the Rams are positioned in that upper right area. They've got an elite passing offense paired with solid defensive metrics. Chicago is down in that lower right-hand quadrant, showing that they're facing more challenges on both sides of the ball when it comes to overall efficiency. But here's where the league rankings add critical context. The Rams check in as number 4 passing offense in the entire NFL. That's elite company. Chicago? They're actually number 8. That's still top 10 passing offense, so don't let the chart fool you into thinking the Bears can't sling it, because they absolutely can. The difference really shows up on defense. LA's pass defense ranks 16th, right around the league average, perfectly middle of the pack. Chicago's pass defense, 23rd in the league. That's the bottom third, and that's a major problem when you're playing the number 4 passing offense in football. So what does this tell us about Sunday? Both teams can throw the ball effectively. We're talking about 2 top 10 passing offenses here, but the Rams have a significant defense advantage. They can slow down opposing passing games at an average level, while Chicago is going to struggle to contain LA's aerial attack. With that 7-spot difference in defensive ranking, 16th versus 23rd, that's massive for a playoff game. Now let's dive into the detailed matchup breakdown, because this is where the numbers get really interesting. Look at the pass offensive bars. The Rams are sitting at 0.22 weighted EPA per play, while Chicago is at 0.11. Both are well above the league average, and this confirms what we saw in the rankings. Both teams are elite at offense. But check out the rush offensive metrics. The Bears actually have a noticeable edge here at 0.12 compared to LA's 0.09. Both teams are above the league average in rushing, which means that both offensive lines are creating opportunities on the ground, and both teams can establish the run game. But here's the critical insight from the chart. Look at those defensive bars. Both the pass defense and rush defense metrics are hovering right around or right below the league's average for both teams. And that's 16th versus 23rd ranking showing up visually. What the matchup breakdown is screaming at us is simple. This game is going to be decided by offense, not defense. Neither defense is going to be dominant enough to consistently shut down the opposing attack. And this is going to come down to execution in critical moments. Third downs, red zones, 2-minute drill, and who can make that 1 or 2 key stop in the game. Let's talk about weapons and how these offenses distribute the ball, because that reveals a fascinating contrast in their offensive philosophy. For the Rams, Puka Nacua is absolutely dominating the target share with 34.9% of his team's targets. That's a massive number. Over a third of all passes are going to this one guy. His EPA impact is over 4,600. That's absurd. Here's the thing. This creates both an opportunity and a vulnerability for LA. Nacua is their clear number 1, their alpha receiver, this guy that everyone can lean on. If Chicago can somehow slow him down, they can disrupt the Rams' entire passing attack. But it's not just about Nacua. Devontae Adams brings 680 EPA impact, and Cooper Parkinson's adds another 611. So while Nacua is getting the lion's share, the Rams have legitimate secondary options that can hurt you. Now flip to Chicago's distribution. This is where it gets really interesting. Loveland leads the way at 19.1% of target share. That's an enormous difference. He's almost getting half the target share that Puka Nacua is getting. This EPA impact is over 2,400, so he's still a significant weapon, but Chicago is spreading around the ball a lot more. So here's the takeaway. The Rams are heavily reliant on Puka Nacua. Means if the Bears can bracket him, double him, take him away, they can force the Rams to beat them with their secondary options. Chicago, on the other hand, spreads the ball well. No receiver commands more than 30% of the target share, and that balance makes them harder to defend because you don't know which guy to key in on. This is actually an advantage for Chicago in terms of offensive diversity. Now let's talk about what happens in the trenches, because this is where the game is going to be won or lost, and the numbers here are fascinating. The Rams' offensive line is protecting at 3.7%. That's excellent, well below the league average of 6.4% sack rate. They're keeping their quarterback clean and giving him time to find Nacua, Adams, and Parkinson downfield. And here's where things get interesting. Chicago's offensive line is actually even better. They're protecting at 3.1%. That's elite protection. Caleb Williams is getting time in the pocket, which is critical for a young quarterback in his first playoff game. Now let's flip to the defensive side, and this is where the Rams are going to have a slight edge. LA's defensive line is generating pressure at 6.4%, right around the league average. Chicago's defensive line is at 5.7%, and this might not sound like a big difference, but in a playoff game, that extra pressure percentage can be the difference between a completion and a sack, between a first down and a punt. And here's the matchup dynamic. Chicago's offensive line is protecting slightly better than LA's, but LA's defensive line is generating slightly more pressure than Chicago's. Both offenses should have time to operate, but the Rams might have a small edge in getting home on the quarterback. So let's connect that to the rushing share charts, because this is where Caleb Williams' factor becomes absolutely critical in the Chicago's game plan. For the Rams, Kyren Williams is the primary ball carrier with an EPA impact of over 430. Blake Cornum is mixing in well with 530 EPA impact. That's a solid 1-2 punch. They can run the ball effectively, control the clock, and keep defenses honest. It's a traditional committee approach that complements their elite passing game. But look at Chicago's rushing share, and this is why you can see the game can go sideways for the Rams. DeAndre Swift leads with over 700 EPA impact. He's a legitimate workhorse. But right behind him is Caleb Williams. Williams isn't just a pocket passer, he's a legitimate dual threat weapon with legs that can hurt you. This is Chicago's X factor. With that 3-point percentage sack rate protecting him, Williams has time to scan the field, and when things break down, he has the athleticism to extend plays, pick up chunk yards on the ground. The Rams defense has to account for this in every single snap. If Williams can use his legs and move the chains on third down to escape the pressure and to create explosive plays, this keeps the Rams defense off balance. This is how Chicago stays in the game and can potentially pull off an upset. So here's what it comes down to. This is going to be a high-scoring game. Both teams are top 10 passing offenses, 4th and 8th respectively. Both defenses are middle of the pack at best, with Chicago's 23rd ranked pass defense being the legitimate weak link. Points are going to be scored, expect fireworks. The Rams are the favorite, and the data backs this up. They're the number 4 passing offense going against the 23rd ranked pass defense. This is a mismatch they need to exploit. They protect their quarterback well with 3.7%, and they have a clear alpha receiver in Puka Nacua, who can command over a third of all targets. They will generate more pressure on defense than Chicago will. But the Bears have a legitimate path to victory, and it runs directly through Caleb Williams and his legs. If Williams can be the best player on the field, using his dual threat ability to create explosive plays, leveraging that elite 3.1% protection to operate cleanly, and spreading the ball to Loveland, Burden, and more, Chicago can absolutely pull off this upset. This game comes down to variance. The Rams have consistency, the matchup advantage, and the higher floor. The Bears need Williams to play above his average performance level and create plays that analytics can't predict.